So I know that you recently joined CSA from your old school. So how are you finding the experience so far? Like, how is it different? What are the things that's new to you? Tell me a little bit about that.
In my old school, I didn't necessarily score the best grades. And I was put down a lot in my old school. I was an outcast. All of the other kids who weren't able to get that grade were also put down. And we weren't necessarily, if we didn't know anything, the teachers wouldn't really care. And if even when I was joining A levels, I wanted the subjects that I wanted to do, they weren't allowing that. Even though they had that, they didn't allow me to do that combination and all of that stuff. So I wanted to join a school that would have the subjects I wanted and would help me pick those subjects and would actually take me in and have like give me attention for my subjects. So when I joined CSA, all the online sessions were super focused on me, and it was so much like the intention was like overwhelming. But at the same time, it was really great because I could focus more, and I knew that if I had a problem, I could get a separate session and all of that stuff with CSA. And because of the less students as well, you're not nervous in class, and you're taken as a really good individual. You're not considered dumb or any of that. Regarding that as well, when I joined CSA, my mental health also, it got better. And because in my old school, mental health, it wasn't great at all. I was demotivated, and CSA brought out the things I could do in order to increase my motivation. And they had sessions and all of that to help out with specific things. So yeah, that's what I'd say was my experience joining CSA.
Actually, I like that you touched about how like your old school didn't really recognize people who didn't really study as much as the other smart kids did. Because I have experience and I really resonate with what you said. And I was actually thinking of like talking about the mental health aspect, but you brought it in yourself, which is great. Because I know when I was in that situation, see, I'm an average kid. I'm not like a overachiever. I don't get A's and A stars. So when I was in my old school, it was not like, I felt like if I had that push, I would have definitely gotten a better grade, maybe even an A star if I really had that sort of push, you know. But at the time, like, I really wanted to do things, but I couldn't because for whatever reason I was just not motivated to do it, or maybe I wasn't getting the motivation I needed, you know. Like my teachers wouldn't say, Sarani, you have it in you, you can do this. I've never had any of my teachers say that from my old school. But when I came to CSA, like just exactly like you said, it was completely different. Because for certain subjects, I was the only kid in the class. So it was very focused, you know. So I think it's great that you touched on mental health. So tell me how exactly that changed for you, or like, do you have any instances that you remember to, you know, that you want to share with us?
Well, in my old school, if I had to talk about an instance, when I was doing O levels, my motivation really dropped and all my grades dropped. And I was just really down, and I had pretty good friends. But the thing, what I needed was some motivation from my teachers, and I needed that push, like you said. I needed that that understanding of whatever subject I was doing. And because it was 7 subjects as well, I was really overwhelmed, and I got really stressed out because I didn't know anything, and I was doing the only subjects that I was good at, those as well, my teachers would point out the smallest mistakes and put me down for those. They would find like the smallest problems and put me down for that. But if there was a kid who was an overachiever, then they would be put up really highly in the school, and they would I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but if they put the same attention towards the average student, then we would have also gotten that grade. And we also would have been a bit better about ourselves, would have thought better about ourselves. So yeah, that was an instant I was really put down. I would like cry if I failed my tests. And all the teachers would say, no, don't cry, it's just a paper. But then when we came close to our Cambridge exam, they said, no, it's not just a paper, it's for your future. So I was really confused
Yes.
In my old school with all of that. So it was really hard for me. And
Right.
especially when Cambridge exams came around, it was so hard. When I came to the exam, my hands were sweating. I didn't remember anything. And so that's how it would be in my old school. And now when I joined CSA, I'm actually more comfortable with myself now.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm doing a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'd say.
I 100% agree with what you said, Theeksha, because when I was in my old school also, mental health was a very taboo topic. Like, I, truth be told, didn't even know what mental health was. You know, it's really funny because now I'm very much focused on mental health, like my personal mental health, my friends' mental health, because I understand how important it is, right? So for me personally, coming from a school that did not talk about mental health whatsoever, or we didn't even know what it was, and coming into CSA, right, where mental health became a part of our day-to-day lives, and we were talking about it, and we were like, I know CSA was raising awareness about mental health and how we need to, you know, check in with ourselves daily, right? So how was it for you coming from a school that did not know anything about mental health and coming into CSA and even talking about your feelings and your emotions with your principal, right? Which I don't think is a very normal thing, and I feel like it would have been very strange for you at the beginning. So tell me how you found that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard that when I came to CSA that I had to have these like daily chats with Miss Shalika, I was like, oh wow, we have to have this conversation with our principal, because in my old school, I don't think I've had like one conversation with my principal or any teacher regarding mental health. And I didn't think that CSA would actually focus so much on mental health, because um, in my old school, if I ever went to a teacher and said I'm not feeling very great, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm down, I'm seeing myself really not that great, and all the teachers would say, oh, it's just a phase, you'll get over it, you know, and they'd say it's nothing, it's just you're just it's teenagers,
it's just a thing,
hormones.
It's very normal, like they would just like wash it away like it was not a big deal. I completely get
exactly.
it. Yes.
But the thing is, CSA helped me realize that mental health is the main, it's the main thing that will help you do anything. Mental health will help you do, if I didn't have good mental health, I can't study. Like, I feel like that's for everyone. If they don't have a good mental health, you can't do what you really want to do. So CSA helped me realize that. And when I came in for chats, they told me a lot of things of how I could help myself, like how I could start journaling, maybe writing down my thoughts and all of those things that would help. And CSA really helped with that.
Definitely, I agree with that. Like you said, Theeksha, about you touched on a point where you said mental health determines how well you study and how well you focus on what you're studying, right? So that is also again something I understand, because like I said earlier, I also did not understand. But when I came to CSA, of course, I knew that, okay, if my mental health is not good, I'm not going to be able to study. So I would understand that I need to take a breather and then come back to studying, and I would do much better, right? That's also like, you know, sort of checking in with yourself, knowing what you need, you know, self-love and all of that. But I still have, to this day, I have friends that don't understand that, right? So I know one of my friend, she would keep studying for like hours because she stresses out that she's not doing enough, right? And she would get so frustrated if she doesn't retain any information at the end of her studying. And then she would complain about how I'm a failure. Like I put in so much of work, but I'm not able to do what I want to do. But what she fails to understand is that it's because you're tiring yourself, you're exhausting your brain, and you just need to take a breather. Like even if it's a day before your exam, just chill for like 5 minutes and then go back to studying, and you're going to do a lot better than just sitting for hours at a stretch, right? So I think that is what like CSA helped me with personally. So what would you say about that? How has academics and understanding mental health helped you with your studying?
Yeah, well, what I'd say was before I joined CSA,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I also didn't know anything about mental health, and I thought that it was just a phase and it was probably just my hormones. And because that's what everyone would tell me, and
Yes,
that's what
yes.
I make myself think as well. But what I also figured out was if I actually kind of focused on my motivation
Mm-hmm.
more than actually trying to study, then I do better. Like
Yeah.
that's what CSA helped me figure out. Like if you focus on bettering yourself, giving yourself more self love, maybe
Mhm.
taking care of yourself, maybe just writing whatever you want to do whatever you like
Yeah.
for like just a small amount of time, and then when you come back, you do great, you do
Yes.
amazing,
Yeah.
because everyone has potential, and I didn't know that. So yeah, they definitely helped me out because once I got that that kickstart of actually focusing on myself, then only I was doing great at my academics because I was
Yes.
actually studying and I was actually soaking up information into my head, and I was gaining knowledge. I was more interested in class. I was asking more questions, and I was never a person to ask questions in
Yes.
class.
Yeah.
Um, so I would raise up my hand if I had a problem. So yeah, that was a big step for me, that whole change in me.
Yeah.
And my parents were really glad about that. I was really glad about that. Personally, it was like self growth, and it was so great for myself and my body and my mind.